Hi, everyone. It's Mike here. Just a quick announcement. You are about to listen to a preview, a little taster of the first Moonshots Master series. And it's all about motivation. And we've got lots of inspiration from people like David Goggins. We've got the science of self-determination theory. We even have the means to get 1% better every day with James Clear. So all of this is in the Moonshots Master series, episode 1. And you're going to get a short preview of it. I hope you enjoy it. And if you'd like to listen to the entire show, just head over to moonshots.io, click on members, become a member, sign up. It's just $1 a week, and you will get special VIP access to our Master Series. Enjoy. And welcome to the Moonshots Master Series. It's episode 01. That's right, the very first one. I'm your co-host, Mike Parsons, and as always, I'm joined by a rather motivated guy, Mr. Mark Peterson Freeland. Good morning, Mark.
Hey, good morning, Mike. What an exciting journey that you and I and our subscribers on Patreon are about to begin today, right?
It's crazy for all of our members. The Moonshotters, we are kicking off a brand new series. It's the Master Series of Moonshots. We're going to still do the Moonshots podcast every single week. But for those of you that are members, you're getting a brand new additional show that we're going to publish every single month. And Mark, where are we starting this journey?
Today, listeners and members, we are digging into the concept of motivation. Motivation is clearly a DNA of a lot of the Moonshotters that we cover on the show. And after all these amounts of lessons and insights from these individuals, Mike, I feel like we've got a pretty solid grasp on the sort of DNA of motivation, don't we?
I totally agree. I think that we're well over 100 episodes of Moonshots, and that gives us the ability to kind of pull together a complete body of work, a complete guide to motivation, a complete playbook for motivation. So that's what's in store for you today, listeners. We've got some amazing people. We've got the 3 Gs. We got David Goggins, Lady Gaga, and Gary Vee. But we're going to go a lot deeper than that into motivation. We're going to go into the self-determination theory. We're going to study the work of Daniel Pink. And to round it out, we are going to somehow miraculously combine 2 very different guys, Jordan Peterson and James Clear. But what is for sure is that you will have a complete body of work. You will be ready to put motivation as a daily practice for you to work on it and get 1% better every single day. That is the promise that we have for you listeners. We've studied so many amazing people. We're ready to turn it all around and put it into a complete body of work for you today. Mark, motivation, what an appropriate place to start. If you're going to be the best version of yourself, if you're going to dare to push yourself, I think there's no other place to start other than motivation, right?
Well, it's sometimes the hardest thing to refer back to, isn't it? You know, you begin maybe a new project or a product, or you start a new job, or maybe it's a family, whatever it is, you go into these different adventures in life. And sometimes you run into moments when you either question your decision, or maybe you question even getting out of bed. It's something, maybe it's raining and you're wondering whether you can get up and go for a run or not. Motivation is that intrinsic thing that drives us. All of us have it. All of us might be motivated in different ways, of course, but hopefully today, as we dig into the science and the foundational elements of motivation, I think something that you and I, as well as our members, will be able to understand is there's a thin line that connects all of us. And once you start to understand what motivates you, you can then almost, dare I say, control that motivation.
Yeah.
Right. You can control how you react and how you are inspired in certain moments of your days. So therefore you go out and be the best version of yourself.
That's so true. And I think that what's so exciting is we've got such a range of fearless, amazing people, smart people that we've studied for you, our listeners, to pull it all together in motivation. And the first chapter of our journey is we're going to study people that are the embodiments of motivation. We've got 3 really distinct points of view on motivation. And I want you to think of this start of the show as the rev up. This is the coach talk in the locker room before the big game. This is going to be 3 big ideas coming up over the next part of the show where we can return to the essence of getting started every day, where we can return to be the very best version of yourself. So if you're feeling a little bit flat, there is nobody better than starting with Mr. David Goggins. So let's dive into his point of view on motivation. Let's listen to the idea of not giving up.
People hear my story and think this guy is sadistic. I realized how the brain works. I figured out how the brain works. I'm a scared kid, and that's what gives me so much power. I had no foundation, and I built this off of just researching the mind. The feeling you get is basically invincibility. You realize that you can't do it all the time. When you need to do it, I know I can go to a place that I can live in. And when you know that you can run on broken legs and you can do certain things that a lot of people can do, but they're not willing to do, this power, this sympathetic nervous system of fight or flight, and you're fighting, it gives you this charge of energy of when you're sitting there at 3:30, 4 o'clock in the morning and you're duct taping your feet up because they're broken, and you're doing it by yourself, and you're going through arguably one of the hardest training in the world. And these guys, most of them are healthy, and you're going through it broken, and you're already at a disadvantage, but you're still there. You can feed into that and tap into that for a lot of power. But if you look at it, well, I'm broken, man. I'm not gonna make it. But if you look at it as, man, I'm broken and I'm still here. And I'm fighting, and I'm gonna find a way to get through this because I have no other place to go. It gives you a lot of power. When things start to suck really, really bad, my brain and a lot of people's brain, they don't go to your dad beating you up. Your brain says, we gotta get the out of here. This is miserable. So anger goes away a lot of times when you're suffering because your brain just says, we gotta run, we gotta go. So that anger is not popping up saying, oh, I'm gonna show them, I'm gonna show those people. No, there has to be a much deeper, when I say deeper, it has to be down to mineral soil. It has to be down to that nice mineral soil where nothing can burn. You can't burn dirt. So it has to be down that low, that literally is something in you that's at the core of your soul. But you don't find it unless you spend a lot of time with what you want to be in life. I can't give that to you. Right. You can't give it to somebody. When you find your true passion in life, and my passion for me when like, oh, I want to be, I don't give a Navy SEALs, Army, I don't give a shit. I want to serve my country. I want to be someone that I'm proud of.
I mean, talk about drilling motivation down into its foundational elements, right? I mean, Goggins even references this mineral level idea of motivation. But
look, I think we need to put him into context before we break it down. Why does David Goggins have the right, the permission to challenge us like that? Well, he grew up, he had a terrible childhood, poverty, prejudice, physical abuse, but then overcame all of his faults. He was a big guy, very overweight, and he became the only man in history to complete training as a Navy SEAL, Army Ranger, and Air Force Tactical Air Controller. He was voted the fittest man in America. This is why he has the permission, isn't it, Mark?
Well, I mean, we dug into his book, Can't Hurt Me, in episode 94, didn't we, Mike? And I remember he's just actually been one of our go-to guys when we're thinking about personal transformation, because he really did that. He managed to drive himself into those three categories, as you've just said, you know, the Army, the Navy, and so on, that nobody else has ever done. So when we're thinking about motivation, we're thinking about personal drive, sources of energy, he's the guy that we've got to start with, because he's really demonstrated this mind over matter. You know, he was able to maybe compartmentalize that breakdown of, oh, I can't do this. It hurts. So no thanks. I want to fly away from this. And instead he can get past obesity. He had a congenital heart defect as well as asthma. And he was able to get past those. And I'd argue, Mike, maybe through a motivational or a mindset orientated around motivation, once he'd broken it down into that DNA and was able to master his mind.
And where he does it, there's a pivot that he mentions in that clip that I want to call out, is where he says, I'm broken, but I'm still here. And that is a win. And I think this is really important for us to point out, because a lot of people look at themselves and say, oh, I failed at this. I didn't do that. I should give up. But what he does is he moves to a more primary level and says, yeah, I'm broken. I'm hurting. Maybe I failed. But the victory is that I have survived. I'm still in the game. He says there is still time on the clock, and that means that I'm still on the field, I'm playing, and that's the start of his motivation. This is that mineral level, that dirt level that he talks about. If we can intercept ourselves when we say, I'm broken and I'm hurting and I should give up, and turn it into, I am broken and I'm hurting and I'm still here. I'm still in the game. To me, this is the most primary motivational practice you can do. If you can avoid victimization, you know, this idea of self-victimizing, oh, poor me, oh. And we all do it. It's the ego speaking. But if you can just have the fortitude and the mental model, if you can train yourself to say, yeah, I'm hurting, but I'm still in the game. This is one of the most powerful mental models. Don't quit. Don't give up. Don't give in to the pain. Push on. Be proud that you're still in the game. In fact, to do a complete tangent, one of our other great shows that we did was on Paul Graham from Y Combinator. And he says, for a startup, survival is success, because so many startups fail. So we can see this pattern. If we can just open ourselves to the idea that we're here. If you wake up every morning and go, God damn, I'm awake, win number one. That is tick the box. We are on the way. We got momentum. Let's go. Right. Cold shower. Let's do this.
Exactly.
I think this, to me, is the most powerful thing. Don't fall for the victimization. Say, yeah, I'm hurting. It ain't going so great, but I'm still here. So we're winning.
I mean, for me, one of the pieces that stood out was actually at the very start of the clip when he's referencing invincibility and, you know, being able to go to his inner place of energy and a place that he can live in order to be motivated. I think that's quite reassuring for me. When I think about motivation, as you just said, yeah, sometimes we'll all struggle. Maybe we'll fall into the camp of, oh, poor me, or we'll fall into the camp of, no, I don't want to have to go and do this. I don't have that fire within me. I don't think invincibility can come overnight. And as we'll talk about today, we're going to dig into lots of different elements of the drive and the science behind motivation. But it'll be interesting to get to a point of, okay, well, how can I build on this maybe day to day? How can I start to get that little bit more invincible? And that's what I'm looking forward to going on this journey with our listeners, Mike.
Totally agree. And what's so fascinating about Goggins is you can see the work that he is doing to look within. And what is amazing about the Moonshots podcast is we found exactly the same pattern in somebody who is completely different, and that's Lady Gaga. So let's have a listen to her talking about being relentless and fearless.
I just have such a love and affinity for show business. I just always felt famous. That's what my first album was really about, is that fame comes from within inside of you, and it's not something that you obtain. Mm-hmm. And I still feel that way in a lot of ways. I like to know that I can define my fame and define my beauty for myself, which is why I'm so vigilant and relentless about my image and my music. Is I will not allow, no matter how successful I become, for the public to define or indicate what it is that I create or what it is that I believe is beautiful or what I believe is a hit pop record. That's who I am, and I will always be that way. Relentless and fearless and vicious.
Isn't it interesting, that connection that exists between those two different clips from Goggins and Lady Gaga?